Guys, Steve here, Mobile Automotive Plus. Today we're working on this Dodge Challenger. Can anybody take a guess what I'm going to have to do today? Needless to say, it's probably going to be a little bit of a long day, but we'll get her taken care of. Good. Got nice chrome pipes and doodads. Well, if we look, we still got an original Chrysler oil cooler. Yep, she's leaking. But I will say this, she's leaking from a spot that I don't think I've seen. This will probably be the, 7th or 8th one I've done in the last few years. But I'll show you where it's leaking from. It's actually leaking from the top of the housing. Usually it leaks from the bottom. But anyway, we got to get this thing all torn apart. I'm going to get to that and I'll show you a little bit of what we got going on. When it comes to doing this, the oil coolers, you don't really need anything that's out of the ordinary. Got a basic metric 1/4 inch drive. I think you need a couple of wrenches, like a 10 and an 8 millimeter. You don't really necessarily need drill or impact. It just makes the process go a lot quicker. But anyway, I'm going to set my foam up and I'll get torn into this. In general, I think this is probably the worst part of the job when it comes to it. There's 2 bolts or studs right here. There's one here, and then there's one back there. See these metal brackets? Well, down below, I can get down in there. Anyway, you'll have to take my word for it. There's 2 bolts that hold those metal brackets on. They're 13 millimeters. That's about the worst of it. You might be able to hit it from there. Yeah, down there, that weird looking bracket. You can see the stud sticking out. You just got to loosen them up. That's probably about the worst part, because if you don't loosen them up, this upper intake will not come off. But that, like I said, is probably the worst part of the deal. And like these brackets that are over here, there's another one that's all the way back here. I think it's just 110 millimeter. So when you loosen this, you take this nut off the back of here. What we'll end up doing is swooping this intake to this way and then up and over. Might even just fold it out of the way so I can get down to the center here. Like I said, we're trying to get this up. Should have started with this. The reason that this lady had me out here and I came and diagnosed it, I came and seen it last week. She said that her car was overheating. She was having a problem with it. Just seemed like it was eating coolant, couldn't figure out where it's coming from. So she limped it around, from my understanding, for maybe a week or two, and then it started to knock and make a weird noise that she hadn't heard before. So she parked and called me out. When I came out here, I went to go and check her oil, because if you have a knocking noise, probably low on oil, or maybe it doesn't have any in it. Well, I put 4 quarts in it, or 4.5 quarts. These engines take 6, so she only had 1.5 quarts in here, which is probably what her noise was. After we put it in there and put the oil in it, we fired it up, and it was just spewing oil. I'll show you what the top of this thing looks like. But with that being the case, this oil cooler, it runs coolant through it and it runs oil through it. And what happens with them is usually the bottom of them, seeing as they're made out of plastic, in the center of the engine, they have a tendency to warp, and then they won't seal. So either you'll, 1, leak coolant, which you probably had, and then 2, you'll leak oil. Well, this one, I mean, it was severe. It was like a garden hose. I mean, so 4 quarts of oil like a garden hose is nothing. But anyway, let me get you in here and show you what you got. So as you can see down here, I mean, it's just covered in oil. That's not sweet tea. So usually you'll notice that if you look down here where the filter housing is, you can you'll see remnants, and also wherever the transmission is, you'll see remnants. I mean, it's just everywhere. But anyway, Dorman makes a kit. I've used them multiple times. They usually work out really, really well. You have to reuse your sensors. One's probably an oil pressure sensor, and the other one's probably coolant. Don't know 100%, but that's what you have to reuse. The rest of it's going to get replaced. The housing, the cooler, the whole shebang. I think you reuse some of the screws, but majority of them, they give you brand new ones in it. So anyway, I'm going to get this torn out, and I'll show you what it looks like down on the bottom. Only other tool that you do need whenever you're doing this, I guess you don't have to, but Shop Vac makes it really, really nice to clean this mess up. It's a nasty job. Somebody's got to do it. So like I said, yeah. So as you can see, as it fills up in this valley here, when it leaks, it'll leak back towards your transmission back there. So usually you see it on top of the transmission or whatnot. But only having basically 5 bolts holding it down is not a, I don't know, ideal. But again, seeing as it is like how it is, if you really wanted to, you don't have to clean the oil out, but that makes a nasty mess. It'd probably seal without it. And as you can see, the oil and coolant mix is going in there. That's why we got to change the oil, change your coolant out. But anyway, I'm going to start with this and get this vacuumed out, and then I'll show you what the old oil cooler looks like. Usually what happens with these is this bottom will warp. I don't know if you can tell in the camera, but this little coolant nipple right here is kind of pointed up. So it's telling me it's warped here, but in general, I didn't see the leak coming from there. I seen it coming from the front of this cooler, right in here, and it was shooting up the top. I mean, it looked like an Old Faithful. But anyway, new one's got all the new parts. The only thing I need to do is take the 2 sensors out of the back, put it in the new one, and then we'll start reinstalling. Like I said, Dorman makes a really nice kit for these. Kit that they have here, everything's all set up. It's all bagged. You get your intake gaskets new. Like I said, I thought you had new bolts with it. New bolts that go on the actual cooler itself. Got our cooler on the top. Got our new oil filter in. I always grease everything before I put it in. There's a couple O-rings down here you grease. These actually have dowels where this thing sits on. It's pretty idiot proof. Crank down the bolts, they bottom out. Torque them to spec. It's kind of, again, idiot proof. Missing it, that O-ring goes into a certain spot and the bolts line up. So like I said, guys, pretty straightforward. Not really, it seems like a very invasive job and kind of scares people, but in general, it's pretty straightforward. There's nothing really major to it. You don't need anything special. You can do this all with pretty much what's in your dad's toolbox. Shoot, this is the hardest part, is getting it lined up. But you guys ever get into it, hopefully this video will help you guys. I did do another video, which was the other thing I wanted to say. Out of the 7 or 8 I've done, 9 times out of 10, I don't think I've ever seen one leak oil. Mainly it leaks coolant, but this one could have probably been leaking coolant for a minute, and then the oil finally gave way also. So usually once they leak coolant, customer shuts her down and, hey, we got a bad head gasket or something like that, they think. But I mean, this one, it was original from 12. I want to say she's got like 120,000. Usually they only last about 100,000 miles, these plastic ones. Once you swap them over, you never usually have much of an issue. Another thing also, if you're already in here and never been done, which I should have suggested it to her, but I think in general this is going to be enough of a bill for her. It would be a good time if you're doing this yourself. Change your spark plugs. They're all right here. She's still got the original coils, which they do last, but all in all, you're right here. Take you an extra 10 minutes to swap out all 6 of them. Alrighty guys, so I've had her sitting here running for a while. You got to top the coolant off. Double check and make sure the oil's full, but that should be good. Besides that, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Need help like this? Give me a shout. I'll help you out. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.